I open my heart to a new beginning. A new beginning starts today. Spirit within me moves me, and I'm open. It's a new beginning. I open my heart to a new beginning. A new beginning starts today. Spirit within me moves me, and I'm open. It's a new beginning. Every beat of my heart is a new beginning. Every breath I take is a new beginning. Every thought I think is a new beginning. Every song I sing, I open my heart to a new beginning. A new beginning starts today. Spirit within me moves me, and I'm open. It's a new beginning. Every beat of my heart is a new beginning. Every breath I take is a new beginning. Every thought I think is a new beginning. Every song I sing, I open my heart to a new beginning. A new beginning starts today. Spirit within me moves me, and I'm open. It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning.
Good morning and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa virtual service. I am Edward Fillion and I welcome you, especially if this is your first time visiting with us. To all of our friends and visitors, we all look forward to the time when we can once again open our doors to all of our congregants. We miss being together and we look forward to seeing each other again. Now, although religious gatherings are opening up to 100 people or less, our community typically hosts many hundreds of people on Sundays at 3 identical services each week. During the current time of sheltering in place, we have shifted our staff and volunteer resources to online offerings for Sunday services, as well as meetings of weekly and monthly groups. And all of these are listed on our newly designed and easy to navigate website, and where you can find the weekly bulletin. And it's filled up with information about youth and family online resources, summer classes, and some of which are starting soon, some of which you have to register by the end of today to get into, and as well as the 30-week-long Advanced Spiritual Living informational meeting. Also, there are telephone numbers for spiritual support, online resources including prayer request forms. There are weekly and monthly groups and meditation practices. There is spiritual coaching, and there's also a tutorial on how to Zoom. Your staff and leadership are monitoring and assessing the situation regularly and will continue to update us as clarity about our plans emerge. We want to continue meeting the needs of our spiritual family remotely until we can accommodate everyone in our building in a safe way. No one can know for certain when that time will be, so we will continue to update the community by means of Sunday service, by our newsletter, and on our website. At the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, we are guided by a vision of a healthy, loving world. Each week, we read a portion of the vision to remind us of our direction. Please join me in reading this month's portion of the vision. We see a world in which every person lives in alignment with spiritual principles, emphasizing unity with spirit and connection with each other. Thank you for being with us today. If we were together physically, we would be becoming aware of our breathing by taking a breath like this, so that as we exhale, we could settle into the experience of being open to our time of celebration together. I invite you to do that with me now, to put aside all other activity and to give yourself the glorious gift of being with your spiritual community, albeit remotely, together. Welcome.
My mind is a sea of safe passage. My heart sails on an ocean of love. My mind is a sea of safe passage. My heart sails on an ocean of love, and I flow on the river, winding my way home. I am safe in the arms of love. I am loved. My mind is a sea of safe passage. My heart sails on an ocean of love, and I flow on the rivers, winding my way home. I am safe in the arms of love. I am loved. My mind is a sea of safe passage. My heart sails on an ocean of love, sails on an ocean of love, sails on an ocean of love.
In this sweet, still moment, as our hearts and minds come together, we know all is one, all is perfect, and all is complete, that each one of us is blessed beyond all measure, and that we have come together in this morning of celebration, of being with one another, of listening to an amazing message and beautiful music. And I also know that each person who has had a hand in putting this service together is amazingly blessed beyond all measure. So it is with the deepest gratitude that I now release this, knowing it is absolutely already done. So we simply say these words, and so it is. Good morning. I'm Reverend Joyce Kenzel. I'm the Senior Focuses Minister at the Center. So if you would please join me in reading Our affirmation for today from our Beyond 2020 Spiritual Book of Affirmations. I work hand in hand with the divine. I feel its wisdom filling my heart. I feel its love creating peace and balance within me and around me. And so it is.
When darkness closes in and you can't find your way, the doubts you drag around only seem to say, how can you make it on your own? Remember, you're never alone. Lean into me, I will raise you up. Gather your faith and we'll walk on water. Hold out your hand when you can't go on. Let go and lean into me. You're longing to be filled with peace that overflows, to hear my quiet voice. Just be still and know, in every sacred silence, I'm only a whisper away. So lean into me, I will raise you up. Gather your faith and we'll walk on water. Hold out your hand when you can't go on. Let go and lean into me. With every leap of faith comes the risk you might slip and falter. Leave what you've known behind, out on the edge you'll find I won't let you fall. Lean into me, I will raise you up. Gather your faith and we'll walk on water. Hold out your hand when you can't go on. Let go and lean into me. Let go and lean into me.
Our recommended book for June is Radical Acceptance. And our focus for June is I Clearly See the Path to Waking Up. Now, when we selected this theme a year ago, we did not know how appropriate it would be to what is happening in our nation and in our world. I'm talking about the tremendous waking up that is happening all over the world. People of different cultures and races and genders and nationalities are waking up to a sensitive and intense and necessary conversation. We can see the trends showing up like in the New York bestsellers list recently. The books listed there all had to do with race. White fragility, so you want to talk about race, how to be an anti-racist, me and white supremacy, the new Jim Crow, the color of law, just mercy. There is a widespread acknowledgement of racism going on, and every denomination I know of is speaking to it, including ours. A shift in consciousness is happening. Consciousness in society is expanding to look more deeply into how we humans are showing up for each other and for sentient beings and for our planet. People are listening more and looking inwardly more, and some are realizing, I may not be directly affected by what is going on, but now I realize I am a product of this society, and I have been conditioned by society, the society I live in. I've been conditioned to see the world in a certain way. And this inner investigation is, well, it's especially important in predominantly white communities. Dismantling our conditioning is an important part of spiritual work, because it's difficult to do something about a problem when that problem is not seen, not acknowledged, or when dialogue about it is not allowed, or when the problem is avoided by turning entirely away from it and taking refuge in spiritual practice. So let me talk about social conditioning and the process, the journey of waking up from it. I'll start in the form of a question. What does it mean to have the color skin you have? Or let me focus that question more specifically to those among us who identify as white. What does it mean to be white? When I first read that question in an article, I admit I didn't have an immediate answer. The question sort of stopped me in my tracks. I know I'm white, but I hadn't ever formulated an answer to what does it mean to be white, because I had never had to. Whiteness has always been and still is the filter through which I view my world. It's not something I had to defend, establish as being okay, or validate, or promote, or be afraid of, or seek to have included, or anything like that. So to find my answer, I had to search inside my consciousness to understand, what does it mean to be white, and how does that impact people who are not? Now, something that helped me understand was my own process of waking up to being gay. I'm not equating race with sexuality. I'm acknowledging that my journey of waking up to being gay helped me see. I woke up in a society that dismissed homosexuality. You see, in my generation, when a person began to become aware that they are gay, they oftentimes woke up into a world that largely denied our existence and confirmed our abnormality. The predominant message of society around me at the point of my waking up affirmed heterosexuality, without ever having to say it overtly, because it was the de facto way of being. Very quickly, and through the silent interaction among homosexuals about survival tactics, we learned to hide in plain sight, to still our voices, and to accept the morsels of acceptance given to us graciously by a society that had no incentive whatsoever to do any more than the minimum acceptance. Everywhere around me, society, the world, confirmed heterosexuality, favored heterosexuality, portrayed it in magazines, in movies, in toy stores, in cultural celebrations, in religious settings. Very few people of my generation, if any, woke up to being gay in an affirming, accepting, normalizing environment. Indeed, for many, it was a difficult awakening that brought with it a lot of shame and danger. So I imagine the question then, what does it mean to be of the sexuality that you are? Well, let me focus the question more to my heterosexual friends. What does it mean to be heterosexual? I'm imagining that some of us never had to think about that. The question may even seem irrelevant, perhaps because you experience your sexuality as a heterosexual as the norm. And then accepting homosexuals into your society becomes an act of generosity, without having to normalize or legitimize the existence of homosexuals, without having to make any adjustments in society whatsoever. So the gay people you've accepted, well, the burden is still on them to fit in. You might even say, some of my best friends are gay, or I treat everyone alike. My question, though, is, do you really know what it means to live in a society, a culture, where your very existence hangs onto a thin line of tolerance? Now, I would have hoped that my experience of sexuality would have given me insight into my whiteness, but alas, no. My conditioning was so thorough that although I experienced myself as gay, I never considered my whiteness. White was the de facto way of being, and I grew up in South Africa during the racist apartheid regime. And when I began to have enough awareness as a young person that the society I lived in was dominated by an intentional, unapologetic, religiously motivated racism, I knew for a fact that I was not like that. The definition of racism was very clear to me. To be a racist, you had to have an intentional, unswerving prejudice against people of any other color, accompanied by a system of repression and control. And I knew I was not like that. It was the only definition of racism I had at the time, and I knew I was not like that. What I didn't know was what I didn't know. For example, I didn't understand that my non-identification with intentional, unapologetic racism did nothing to dismantle my worldview of whiteness that I had been born into. Because I was so clear on my definition of a racist, I was unable to take an objective look at the rest of my conditioning from growing up in a segregated, privileged white society. Now, what do I mean by privileged? My family was poor, extremely poor. We were poor whites, which to the other whites, some of them in South Africa, the South Africa of my childhood, well, that was an embarrassment. Nevertheless, as poor as we were, the color of our skins afforded us opportunity in education, in social services, in justice systems, and medical care that were not available in equal proportion to other races. When I emigrated to the United States of America, I truly believed in my heart that I was leaving all of that behind me, coming to the land of equality and opportunity. And I brought with me the shame of being a product of a white racist society, and I felt compelled to adjust my behavior to make up for my conditioning and to show just how not racist I was. And this urge to prove myself was based entirely on my need to feel better. I needed to show the world, through an act of generosity, that I could include anyone, that some of my best friends were now black. After all, I affirmed oneness. But the reality of my conditioning was so hidden from my conscious awareness that it took someone else to point it out to me. I have an embarrassing memory from early on in my new life in the United States of America. I met an African-American man, and he and I became fast friends. And then one day he said to me, Edward, we can't be friends anymore. Because whenever I'm with you, all you focus on is my blackness. Oh, it was like a thunderbolt smack on the side of the head. Yes, it was true. I was overcompensating. I was using my friend to prove that I had overcome my conditioning. I was demonstrating how open-minded I was, and in a sad and embarrassing awareness, I realized it had nothing to do with his well-being. That was hard for me to realize, because I saw myself as liberated. And the one thing I did not want to be guilty of is racism, because I hated it in others. And so I was trying extra hard to show that I was not like that. And this may have been the moment when I first began to understand that racism shows up in many more ways than only overt, intentional, unapologetic, religiously motivated racism. The Christian pastor Ezra Bayer, in a blog responding to the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery, discusses 3 ways he sees racism showing up in the world. And the first is the intentional form we've been talking about. The second way of racism he calls self-serving racism. That's where someone may be aware that something, a statement, a hiring practice, a joke is racist, yet they refrain from confronting or addressing the racism because they don't want to make waves or rock the boat or damage a friendship or upset a family member. Then there is the third way of racism, the racism that is born of ignorance. This is racism that is perpetuated without the person being aware of it. Like a hidden belief. It's sometimes inherited, it's sometimes learned from the norms of society, and this kind of racism shows up when a person believes they are not racist because they do not even see color. They see everyone as the same. I've been helped to understand that when I say I do not see color, that I also cannot see the very real issues that people face in our society exactly because of the color of their skin. And I may end up denying, or even worse, not seeing the genuine difficulties that our society has created. Now, this kind of racism is subtle, yet just as damaging, because it denies the experience of the person being discriminated against. Becoming aware of that kind of racism in me has been painful. Becoming aware of it, though, has allowed me to begin to change, and it started quite a while ago when I started to show up more authentically with people, feeling freer to learn and listen to their stories, to listen, to discover what they value, how they think, what shaped their childhoods, their challenges, their victories, their experiences of being the color and gender and culture that they are, the experiences of who and what they are, to listen deeply. Now, I wanted to share that with you because I don't want to be talking from a position of, I know it all, look how wonderful I am. But to remind myself, and you, that we are a part of this world society, that societal conditioning is real, that the norms I accept as normal, I may not even be aware of. And to remind me that as beautiful a thought as it is to say that we believe there is only one life in and through all things, that still, probably every day, one of us experiences being excluded from that oneness. I do not understand what it is like to be of a different color skin. I do understand what it is like to have part of my identity, who I am, demonized excluded. And I'm inviting you today to identify that experience within yourself, to tap into a time when you were othered, either as the black sheep of the family, or because something to do with your body, or maybe you were bullied at school, or maybe it has to do with your gender identification. To remember those times and to feel it deeply as a way to increase our empathy and to empower ourselves to grow spiritually into the principles we state we believe. First, COVID-19 interrupted life, and then George Floyd's killing triggered a realization, again like a lightning thunderbolt, one that knocks you out of the rut of comfort. And now we find ourselves asking, where do we go from here? There is a saying attributed to our founder, Ernest Holmes, that says, the saying peace will not produce peace unless back of the word is a realization of the meaning of peace. Now we can take that and adapt it to oneness. The saying of oneness will not produce oneness unless back of the word is a realization of the meaning of oneness. From my point of view, racism is a cultural norm created and activated by previous generations of white people and sustained by current generations in conscious and unconscious ways. From my point of view, it is not enough to say we are one and then invite people on the outside of that norm to come in. From my point of view, we have to interrupt the unhealthy societal patterns that perpetuate inequities in justice, services, and opportunities, and health. From my point of view, the work of dismantling racism is about spirituality. It is about getting into sync with the clear principles we teach. Now next week we have our virtual social hall experience online. We'll gather and then we'll break off into groups to share what we are feeling about these times. And then we'll break into different groups to share and brainstorm, how do you think we can respond to the call of these times? For our closing prayer, I bring to you a prayer written by Reverend Nathaniel Pearson, a prayer for world peace. I invite you to breathe in, and as you exhale, to allow your eyes to close if you feel comfortable doing so. There is only one life. That life is God. That life is perfect, and that life is one of peace. It is peaceful within itself and knows itself as peace. Therefore I declare that being created in the image and likeness of this presence, that in the very nature of my living and moving and having my being in this presence, that the inherent quality of my nature must be one of peace. I declare that the whole purpose of this prayer is to eliminate in me any idea, opinion, or attitude that is not in alignment with this idea of peace. I declare that since this nature is inherent within me, that I am peaceful with myself and with everyone else. I know that as this ripple is created in the stream of life as peace, that it goes out to surround everything in its nature. I declare that everyone hearing these prayers, everyone is a seed idea of peace planted in solid ground, and that the whole of creation is now vibrating with this idea. where there seems to be disharmony, where there seems to be confrontation among race, sex, economic status. Right now, all these barriers begin to fall down as the truth of the statement dissolves them. I declare that nations are one with each other, that religions are one with each other, that individual ideologies and philosophies come together with the true understanding that we are one. As a result of knowing this, everyone works together for the greater harmony of our universe, our economies, our ecologies, our environment, our spiritual growth and development on whatever path we choose to follow. I declare that this consciousness is so solid, so stable, so truthful, that it is doing its mighty work in all that we are individually and collectively. I know that the power of the word is to heal and to bless and to prosper. I declare that as a result of stating these statements of truth and realizing them and accepting them and affirming them, that whatever action we need to take becomes clear to us. The truth of the matter is that regardless of appearances to the contrary, we are already one with the divine and at peace. Knowing that the law of mind is absolutely impersonal and that it is acting upon this prayer right now, and that this word does not return null and void, I release it into divine mind for the perfect resolution, giving thanks in advance for the joy of answered prayer. And so it is. I invite you to take another deep breath in with me like we did at the beginning of the prayer. And as we sigh together, we make a transition to that part of our service where we celebrate the law of circulation by giving and receiving and thinking of all the ways our center is valuable to us. I want to thank you for making your contributions, those who are contributing online using our online portal on our website, and those who continue to send in physical checks to our address. And I thank you, as I do every week, for the words of appreciation and affirmation. It means the world to me to know that your center is important to you still. I want to let you know also that today is the monthly discussion group on Zoom. It's called Being and Belonging. It was formerly called Diversity Discussion Group, and because that's really what the topics are about. In this group, you can learn more about your relationship with diversity, inclusivity, social rank, oppression, racism, privilege. And this month in particular, the discussion in the group focuses on understanding the journey of transgender individuals to confirm their identity, and on ways that others can show respect and willingness to be their allies. And now, please enjoy this music for our offering.
We'd like to do a song for you now that's called Who. And I like to spell that W-H-O-O-O-O-O, like who. Because that sound, who, is actually a sacred sound in a lot of traditions around the world. It's the sound of the wind in the trees. It's the sound of the breath. And there's a beautiful, it's also the primordial question, who? It's like, who's doing this? Who are we really? And who is it that's looking through my eyes? The poet Kabir has a beautiful phrase. He says, who is it that I spend my entire life loving? So it's kind of like this is a song about and for the beloved. It's like this life is a love song. Let's just go for it. Here comes the band. I love it. Yeah. Here's your part. Sing with me now. Here we go. Ooh, that's all you got to do. Here comes. Ooh, who is always easy, and who loves feeling free, who is behind the breeze and the wind in the trees, who is breathing me, who rides with me on this journey, who is my shelter in the storm, who is my heart's true companion, who is the fire that keeps me warm, and we're all together now. It's good to be home, and we're all together now. It's good to be home. Who is the first to feel forgiveness? Who loved the benefit of the doubt? Who finds the finest milk of human kindness, passes the miracles around? Who hears the music in the madness when no rhyme or reason can be found? Who holds the harmony together? Who is a song inside the sound? And we're all together now. It's good to be home, and we're all together now. It's good to be home. Woo. I love this guitar. You can't see it, but you can hear it. Who do I spend my whole life loving? Who is looking through these eyes? Who is my nearest and dearest? Who's my most familiar surprise? Who began my beginning? Who rides with me through the end? Who brings me laughter ever after? Who's my truest friend? And we're all together now. It's good to be home, and we're all together now. It's good to be home. It's good to be home. It's good to be home. Yeah, there it is. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning,
We are Charlie.
and Michael.
Our youth and family program continues with Zoom. We have a group for teens as well as 2 groups for younger children. For more information and resources for families while sheltering in place, please contact Susan Robinson. We have 2 classes starting soon, The Power of Meditation and Beyond Limits. Keep in mind you must register in advance. You can't register on the night of the class, so please register today before 5 p.m. for The Power of Meditation. You have a little more time to register for Beyond Limits. We have a 30-week class devoted to personal growth and spiritual practice. It is called Advanced Spiritual Living. If you want to know more about the class, you are invited to T. T stands for Things Everyone Asks. This year, the T will be held on Sunday, June 28th at 1:15 p.m.
The topic for tonight's Sunday evening conversation with practitioner Peggy Weber is Radical Acceptance, Practicing Each Moment, All Are Welcome. Lunchtime Learning continues this month with a book study exploring the book The Eye of the Storm, Embracing Conflict, Creating Peace by Gary Simmons. Lunchtime Learning happens each Wednesday from noon to 1 with Lawrence Edwards, Lily Escovedo, and Krista McAtee. On Monday, June 22nd at 1:30 p.m., you're invited to the group called The Third Act, which gives seniors in our community an opportunity to share their ideas, joys, and concerns. The group is facilitated by Reverend Joyce Kinzel. All these ways of staying connected and more are listed on our website, www.cslsr.org. Thank you for being a part of our spiritual community. You ready to go to the park?
Yeah, let's
Okay,
go.
let's go.
And now, please know with me that you are never alone, that Spirit is right where you are, that you have only to look within at any moment to know that you are guided, sustained, and empowered by a presence that expresses its love in this world through your love. In deepest gratitude, let us live our lives accordingly, so that in everything that we do and say and think, we honor this presence of love within. And so it is.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, loved ones all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin